It's here in the event tab, and AnkamaLive translation. I've added it. I've made posts about it. Hello! Hello everyone. We're finding each other. It has been a while. We have so many things to share with you. It's gonna be long, it's gonna be dense, and please do excuse us sometimes if we get into too much detail about things that are not of any interest to you. Just tell us and we will move on. We've got loads of data, lots of feedback. There's even a summary, sommaire, so the table of what's going to be discussed. The Pope has shaved. He's looking fresh. It won't be a surprise to anyone. We've released the beta on the 13th of August. It's been some weeks. A lot of things have happened during that beta, and there's been a lot of elements that we will go back on. And as you can expect, there's so much to talk about that we've prepared a little summary of what we're going to talk about. You know, in every live, we have a specific theme usually, and in this one in particular, we have loads that we want to discuss with you. So the beta launch, there's so much to talk about to the point where we don't want you to get lost in what we're going to discuss, that we've prepared a little summary so you know what to expect in this live. And if there are any parts that do not interest you, you can go and come back when they start, the interesting one. So we wanted to start by talking about a summary of phase 1 and 2. There's loads of elements to talk about. Notably, at the end of it, there's a poll that we've mentioned. We will talk about this. The second part is the answer to the polls, as we've said. Here, we have talked about it some in the forum, but now we're going to get into depth with it. If you guys remember, we've done an interview with Laniel a few weeks ago, and we've mentioned some things. There was a newsletter where we talked about the polls and the results, and we got into every single one of them in detail. And then, number 3 is the presentation of phase 3, which is the title of this live, as you know. Phase 2 is ending very shortly, and as you know, the phase 3 will start tomorrow, and it's a big piece of work. It's the last one. It's the very last one. But there's loads of things that you need to know about in this one in particular. Right. Because we've taken time to do things very well, we wanted to share a planning of the various modifications that will happen in the beta in the very few upcoming weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of things to do. Yeah. There's a hefty live. Yeah. It's a meaty one. It's gonna be a big one. So for those of you who love data, you're gonna have a blast today, because we generally have loads of it, but we don't necessarily share them with you, and sometimes we have less than optimal. But we would like to say thank you to the data team that has accompanied us in this whole beta phase, provided us with data to do a follow-up and monitor some things. We've talked to you about this in phase 1, and that is why we try to simulate as much as possible a new server release so we can share meaningful data with you. Some will be interesting, some will be more fun than interesting. There's loads, but it's always a pleasure to see data. Anyway, I've warned you, there's a lot. Right, how many of you were there at the beginning of phase 1? Just to remind you, phase 1, we've released it without too much communication. We wanted to exchange with the big players, get some feedback, but generally there were 150,000 players that rocked up on one beta. These are not numbers that we have gone used to, we're not accustomed to in a normal beta, especially that on classical beta there's usually people on the 2-3 days just to determine whether there's any speculation or any items that are worthy of sell or buy. But here, because there were rewards, it has motivated people to stick around, unlike the usual betas where only the first 2-3 days and people leave. This was interesting. So the number of characters created generally was 266,000. Again, here, this was incredibly impressive for us. You have rushed it, you've tried it fully. mass level, the number of people, the max level that was reached within a month is 230 levels. We did not expect it. It was spectacular, surprising, but we loved it. We loved it. We're gonna talk about this later because there were thresholds. The highest level that we've given a reward for is 200, but 230 is completely surprising. Here again, the forum, 6,500 posts, bug posts, just the bugs. That's the problems that you guys have encountered. I would like to say the very first day of the beta, we've had about 25 to 27 pages of reports in the forum, and about the quarter of the total reports that you guys have made were in the very first day. So the characters disappearing, the mono account was not accessible. Sometimes when you finish the fight and you click escape, it comes the end of fight screen comes up. When you go on the map and you walk on a zap and you discover it, the picto remains an interrogation mark, if you remember that. For those of you who have also remembered, there were some targetable cells, some cells that you could just not click, that riled you up so much. Yeah, so we're not saying there were 6,500 individual bugs, but yes, there were 6,500 posts, and I'm not gonna shy away, but the first few days it was a bit complicated to read everything. Rebek was tasked to do this. For every page he read, there were 3 new forum pages created. It was very exciting to have a phase as vibrant and full of life here. And the feedback posts were posts that required a lot more time from us to read and engage with and sort of understand what the essay is about, what people are talking, what they are communicating to us. But generally they are longer to sort of get to the gist of what they are trying to say. And yeah, so classes, the repetition, this was a bit surprising. I would have bet for a different repetition mono versus multi account, but as you expect, the Kra is omnipresent. It's everywhere. It's overrepresented. And for the classes that were the least represented, to see the Uginak, the Rogue, and the Mask consistently at the bottom with the Zelor and multi-account, clearly the balancing that we are passing on the beta, for those of you who have seen it, the Uginak has been well received, and this is why, as you can see. And there's a lot more balancings that we are doing in the next phase. And but you can see the Kra is supreme. And you can see the main difference that we have spotted between the multi and mono is the panda that is overrepresented because it's highly efficacious in a team group, in a team setting. But as you can see, it's generally sort of similar. And just a little note to the recent modifications, we hope that they will have a big impact. And we have to know that on the Temporises, we usually have similar kind of targets for class picks. The Kra, the IOP, the Feka are usually some of the most anchored classes that people pick. And I think it has to do with their habits, their gameplay methods and things like that. So, as we said, phase 1, what we have to know is there were awards for different levels of thresholds. So we wanted to show you how many people have managed to get what. And as you can tell, the last one, the 4th one that was reached by 500 people, the 4th, it was not completely unattainable, but it's still a lot of players have hit a lot of thresholds, as you can see. 90,000 people have reached the first threshold, 6,800 for the second one, third one was 4,500, and the 500 one managed to get the biggest, hardest ornament. Yeah, so congratulations to everyone who have managed it. And we've added a different one that have nothing to do with PEVM, just the people who have done the effort of unlocking rewards by helping everybody else get gear, mage gear, and progress. we know that a lot of resources require, a lot of professions require loads of resources, farmings and things like that. But generally, we had 161 people who have really pushed the bar to unlock 3 professions level 200 in the span of a month. Effectively, we have had to do some modifications about our plans for the rewards to do with the professions, especially because there were some yeah, but we've communicated it, we've changed our minds on it because we thought it was not perfectly adequate. But now, we thought that the repetition, the number of people who have hit it, is quite balanced vis-a-vis PVM. The numbers are not too dissimilar. But I would like to say thank you very much to everyone, and big GGs to anyone who has managed to reach the last reward threshold. 161 for professions and 500 for PVM. Configuration style now. This was the occasion for us to look at what our players use in order to understand what gear they use, what are your habits, what sorts of systems you use. But to say that everybody's playing 8 gigabytes of RAM is no longer true. This was one of the things that surprised us the most. About 95% of people play on Windows, and about half a percentage point that play on Linux. We love you, but it's not evident, and it's always a struggle to provide you with content. And 83% and above of players have 16 gigabytes and more. Really, there is a big step up in terms of configuration on our player base, generally speaking. And it's here where I was surprised mostly. It was not just the European players, it was also the internationals as well, the South Americans, who also play on big configurations that are quite similar to the ones in Europe. So globally, we can say that we have 16 gigabytes or more pretty much on all of our player base. And here, it's similar. We feel and think that most of our player base have a higher configuration on average compared to what we are used to. So we're thinking RTX 1060 and plus and 16 gigabytes of RAM. The newsletter is coming up soon. On the polling, when we've asked you questions, we will provide you with the results soon. We want you to know that about 83% have 16 gigabytes of RAM. It does not mean that... it also means and explains why a lot of your clients were very hungry, reaching 5, 6, 7, 8 gigabytes of RAM. But the fact that there were loads of 83% of players playing with 16 gigabytes of RAM means that we're just going to abandon everything. We're good. Our players have enough RAM to manage our games. No, we're not going to do it like that. We are aiming to go towards 2 to a grand maximum of 2.5 gigabytes of RAM, which is largely attainable for most machines. And we had a particular case with multi-accounting that does not exist in most modern games, and it's really it makes it difficult for us to rationalize what we want to do with gear generally. So progression wise, the average, these are averages. This is indicative for us to try and get the data and see. These are largely approximations, but on average, this is how long it takes for players to reach different level thresholds. It's the average to reach level 20 is about an hour and a half, and about 43 hours of gameplay to reach 80. But from level 80 and above, it's really hard to gather meaningful information or data. So the data is so widespread. So yeah, even here when we say 43 hours to level 80, it is very approximative. It was just a curiosity that we've had and explored and managed to turn these into numbers. There's a lot more work to be done in order to sort of see what the outliers are, the people who have done things the fastest, that know the game very well. But you can also see that if you have those, you have also slow people that have not managed to do it as properly as possible. But we have seen that it has resulted in some great differences. The level between 20 and 40, you can see that it's a massive investment of time to go for the level 20. And as you can see, the higher the level you want to reach, the more time investment it requires from you. And I'm seeing in chat, yes, there are some people who manage to get all of these done much faster than the averages. But you have also you need to know that it was a bit slowed down because people wanted to discover interfaces. They wanted to see the game. The game time was not purely dedicated to leveling and progression. Oh. 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 Oh, what is happening with their life? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. I repeat, the stream is F. Oh, whoa, nice one, Octagon. Let's go. It's back. It's back. It's back. Our servers are working well. We really wanted that Twitch servers are also doing well. Yeah. So we wanted to say that the times here are averages. There is, yes, a big difference between someone who knows the game that can do level 40 in half an hour, but somebody else that is relearning how to use their spells, relearning their class, their items, looking around. The experience of the gameplay was different, but it's good for us to have an initial marker. What are the key steps and how long it takes for them to reach them. Yeah. Yes, the population of Dofus is getting older. Yes, the times take longer, but for an average to reach level 40 is 7 hours. We have to look at this. We're taking these things into account to try and understand the game development side, so that we don't have old people that come back from work and only have an hour and a half of gameplay. We don't want them to have to play 7 hours to reach a certain level, if you see what we mean. And some people have sped up through this that played. It would be really nice for us to add little pictos on quests and things like that to point people towards the best ways and most efficient ways to progress. Right. Professions and resources. Here I'm going to talk principally about the 5 gathering professions. The most prominent ones, the ones that are requested or placed the most, are lumberjack and farmer. And it's generally the same kind of numbers in order to create consumables like HP, recall potions, things that everybody needs during a server launch. And on the generation, it was 13% generation from the protectors. So 13% of all the resources gathered were from protector fights. And here again, we were able to see it, that there are some professions that are more solicited than others. And but what was really surprising is that between mono and multi, the same exact professions are leveled for the same exact reason. When we looked at the data, server, population, the same thing. We're seeing a similarity in number. And we can see the most popular crafts are Carousel, Mini Healing Potion, and Recall Potion. These are the top 3 most crafted ones. We wanted to look at the data and see if there are any adjustments to do to reduce pressure on some professions. But here we can share the numbers. We've also looked at the generation and destruction of resources. The Grahal here that we all aim for is as much destruction as generation. We can allow ourselves a little bit of a delay or a difference, but from a balancing point perspective, professions are well balanced. It allows for a little bit of extra generation every now and then, but it's perfectly balanced. Right, equipment wise, here we asked for a heck of a lot of information and data from the team, just so we can understand better how you progress throughout the levels. And what we found is, what we realized, and honestly we were expecting it, but it still allows us to validate the theories that we have internally, which is, I will just send everything all at once so you can see. You know, you won't be surprised there. You see that tofu fool, what a surprise. The Abra Kappa, the Abra Cask, the once you put an AP on your Lumberjack shield, you keep it until level 150. Gelano, the what is it called? The AP belt. You can see 38% of where is it? 40% of level 150. Nearly half of people were using a Gelano level 50. The AP belt, nearly 40%. Also, the pets, they are really hard to acquire. So you see that 72% of players don't even have a single pet. And you can see, finding a pet is good, but leveling it is incredibly difficult. It's complex at the moment, and I don't want to make you any promise because we're still thinking about it game development wise, but we're not going on a toffee full nerf and that's it, we've done our job. We want to adapt the recipes, we want it so that the possible set bonuses become more interesting, so you get more AP, MP on low level ones, so that they're more interesting for you to use rather than just blandly nerfing other things that are used. The Gelano, we are thinking about some changes to it because it is there even until the absolute most end game, level 180, 190, because the moment you pass an MP, you can't get any better bonuses than AP, MP from one single item. It's crazy. And the pets as well, a slot that is incredibly important, but to level a pet is not really evident, so people just completely abandon it. So we're trying to find the formula here, because basically when you look at the most used items, we're trying to find an AP or an MP, or just do a bit more of maging on it, but stats we largely do not care much about those. So the earlier levels are like this, and it creates a lot of work, hardship to go get the resources to get those items, which means they are overloaded. People are going there to heavily farm them, so they become incredibly pricey, so you can't find monsters in the area at all. So the idea is not necessarily to just modify everything, or maybe to have a better homogeneous balancing of items to try and reduce pressure on some areas, and so that it becomes easier to farm and get the resources that you need. And chat, no, the idea is not to nerf Gelano, I'm seeing you. The idea is to make it so that there are more interesting rings at level 100, level 150, for you to abandon that bloody Gelano and use better items. But to nerf Gelano, I don't think it's ever possible because it's so iconic. So don't you have to worry about that. We will not be touching the Gelano. It's so important and iconic to the game to be touched. And on the last part, the reception from the players and from Ankama. Here I've put your expectations, how you received phase 1 2. So here I've put some keywords, whether it be from our side or from your side. The keywords, the most words used in your communication. So the words were excitation from the gamers side. Excitation because there were loads of expectations, a lot of hype. You can also you might notice also there's the word deception. Deception is disappointment, because a lot of people had expectations for Unity that have not been met. Yeah, for reasons or others they have not been met. The other one is attente, so apprehension, waiting for new servers. Thankfulness, remerciement, is lots of people took the time to say thank you, words of encouragement. And evolution, which is a lot of evolution that has happened in the game from our side. The game that was really the objective that we've had, and is the buzzword internally. Just whenever, yeah, this is it. This is it. And just to end on the prioritization, what? We talked about this during your interview a few weeks ago, but there are a lot of things that were raised that we wanted to present on the continuity of this live. We will talk about it, but we can't really give you everything at once because there's a work of prioritization. What should we do? And you've seen this in the polls on the idols. Some people said that, why are you making us choose? Can't we just have all three? It's this really, it's prioritization. We don't have the time to do all three of them and still manage our expectations and deadlines. So we will do one and then we'll think about the other one. I have nothing else to add on this thing right here. We should have perhaps added efficacious. Right, so that was for phase 1 and phase 2. Should we take questions or just go straight to the next bit? There's a lot of data, I don't think. Right, let's look at for 10 seconds to see if there are any interesting questions. But if I don't see a single question, I warn you, I'm just gonna go next. As we said, yeah, phase 1 and 2 only. Go la suite. People want them to go to the next one. The idle stances, Elias. So, the next one is the answer to the poll part. What are polls? This is something that we've sent, that we've pushed in-game about a month ago. And we've shared it as much as possible. There was a lot of you that have answered. I think it was 50,000 responses that we have gotten for the poll that we've pushed. It has given us a better appreciation, better confirmations of some things, of learnings or prioritization. It has helped us, notably about interfaces, and we'll talk about that. So thank you all for taking the time to answer this poll. So, some numbers. It has lasted 4 weeks. Right, I told you there's data in every single slide. 17 questions. We talked about animations, interfaces, map fights. So I had 6 questions for this one, 4 for the other one, 4 for the other one. And there were some other questions, but we're not linked to these topics. Right. The thing that was the most interesting was the minority, the silent majority. Over 48,000, there were 5% that said they were never posted their opinions or anything. Never mentioned their opinion on Twitter and any forum. So this is the first time that they have shared their opinion. So we talk a lot. I certify that all the data are exact. He's using a legal sentence that I've certified that everything here I'm saying is truthful and things like that. And I will provide you with more proof that true. 85% of people have never posted on any type of public forum, game or anything. And here I want to jump on this point right here because I'm seeing theories, you know, I don't know what they're called. We're not saying that 85% that have never put their opinion on any forum appreciate what they like. No, this is not what I'm saying. Conspiracy theories, the opinions that you see, the most angry, the most prominent, the loudest ones do not come from the majority, because the vast majority never posts an opinion online. So when it looks like to you, when you look at Twitter, that the vast majority of the player base agrees, this is what you should remember. Most of the player base does not even provide an opinion ever. So yeah, if 90% of people said that they have never tested anything, does not mean that their opinion is not valid. But I really want to stress this. It's not because 85% of people have never posted anything, does not mean that their opinion is positive. And this is why we've done the poll. Because we know that these players, they just never operate on these channels and forums, but we need their opinion to have something cleaner, more adapted to the general players base. So it does not also, what it also does not mean is that the 15% of people that are the most vocal, we don't care about them. And the other stat that is really important, the other stat was the people who have given. There was 25% of people who have given us their opinion that have never played the game. So the quarter of the people have tested the beta or completely new to the game. But we started from the principle, the idea that a game experience, a feeling, whether it be on the animations, interfaces or stuff like that, it is something that you live. And the people who have played in the beta, we will have an opinion that will be more complete and representative of the experience that they've had in the game, in the sense that people who have not answered, they have certainly seen some things on the internet, during a live, in a stream or something like that. So they have opinions, non-objective ones. So it's a secondary opinion that they have gotten from someone who will have a specific angle, for example. So some people have answered the poll, and the only thing they have seen is a screenshot about the podium, the PvP podium, the image that circulated a lot. So for these, they are less representative for us in terms of their game experience. And as we said earlier, before moving on to the next one, there is a more advanced news that we will give towards the end of the live for results of every single question, the percentage of repetition, each question, the number of people answered and things like that. And you will get our reflection, our analysis on every single one of the questions and what we thought of the answers that were provided. And there's going to be a lot more conversation, chat, reflections, thought at the bottom of this, and it will be the opportunity for you to read and enrich your reflection, maybe participate in the conversation and bring some more wealth into it. And I'm just going to skip over everything that is the artistic direction and things like that, but we want to hear your feedback on everything because the results of the polls were stunning, and we're going to see that. So on the 3 points that were mentioned on the interfaces, the top 3 things. Well, let's start with the interfaces. We haven't put screenshots that would be hardly legible. I have put a grade on 20 out of 20. You had 3 options: unsatisfied, mildly satisfied, really good, and we've converted that into a score, and what you get is about 9.6 over 20. And there was a box underneath it where people and players were able to put more of their opinion in writing, and the word that came up the most was illegible. We weren't able to read in the middle of the fight. The writing was small, the interfaces was hard to interact with, the mobs trying to discern stats and things like that. It was really, really difficult of access. For us, it was not satisfactory to have something that is so little appreciated by you, and it's really bad. And for the 3rd point here, it lacks a soul and color. I will give you the information, so it's never but I will just put this to the light. We will soon work with Eternaris. We have spoken to him last week and it is confirmed, and we will start working on this next week, and it will be principally to fix this. We won't be able to redo everything, but soon he will be working on it, and there's a lot of work to do, and we are going to do a complete if we were to do a complete rework of interfaces between now and December, it would be really hard. But it would be really hard, and it would not work towards releasing Unity towards December. But now what we are going for is a complete revamp and redo of interfaces towards March, April, so we don't add more workload before the release. On interfaces, we can continue on this. The things that were brought back as being the most annoying or the least liked features to do with interfaces. So there were 2. The first one was the spell one, and the characteristic one was the number 2. And the 3rd one was AP, MP, shortcuts, things like that. The number 4 was the inventory, and 5th was the quest and quest follow-up, the little thing that you have here on the left. And this has helped us prioritize what we should work on as a matter of urgency. We will talk to you about this in the next few weeks, but we have put the emphasis on these 3. These are our top priority because they were the most highly requested. We will be able to show you the spells later. Yeah. It will come soon. We're just talking about the results now, but we'll show you more things in detail later. Second axis was animations, and here, we've already got a 16 out of 20. Compared to the previous one, it's a better one. We had better kind of feedback. There are some things that were brought back to our attention, some things that needed bettering, enhancing, and so we have added some open-ended question of things that you liked and things that you did not like. The most raised things were some iconic animations, certain ones that lost a lot of its soul in the transfer. The second one, like the IOPS Wrath, lost completely of its soul. The second one is the speed of certain classes, Sadi and Panda. Their animations are incredibly difficult to cut. So it's difficult for a panda that is carrying an entity. It's really hard to cut the animation from carry to already being carried. But we're going to work on a lot of those to make it so that they are much easier to work with. Here, I wanted to show you something that for the first time, this Wrath that we have reworked so that you can see what we are sort of working on to better and answer and see what your feedback is. Are we going in the right direction? Does it look an IOP Wrath? Do we still need to go back and rework it? But we could go back and rework it later on. But these are the elements that we're working on, and we are looking forward to your feedback and see if this is going in the right direction or not for you. But here again, on the animation, and you have to know, this is why, for example, we've done an entire devlog on the idols, which we'll talk about later, is that it's things that we will continue to enhance and better the formula to better the quality. This is something that is a a crucial thing that belongs to the way of that we do better in quality Ankama. So this belongs to this kind of general direction. There's a lot of classes, just to cite a few others: Fogonauts, a lot of spells that are being reworked that will be changed, some fantasies that will be transcribed into the game to better match the lore and things like that. And just so you know, we have made some modifications during the beta because we've had so much feedback about the death of the mobs that was so slow, that slowed the fights and made them unbearable. And yeah, so we've changed that immediately during the beta, so you can see that killing a mob no longer requires waiting and slows down the fight. And also, creature mode was a bit slow once you go there, which defies the purpose of having a creature mode. And the last one was the fight maps, Fogonaut Steamer. So here we've got a sort of alright kind of grade, but it's not as good as we want it from the poll. The three principal points that we've had is the map size. So area and dungeons, because as you know, in certain dungeons that are low level, the maps have been reworked to be smaller so that to correspond better to a gameplay of an early game, little MP, so you don't want to spend hours chasing mobs and for you to get to them. And there were some areas that were reworked so that the map are not necessarily easy to rework to begin with. And there was also a question of immersion that was broken with certain maps, some fight maps. And the last one, so immersion. And the third one was tactical mode. So map size. We had a willingness and a desire to make the maps to be easy for the gameplay. If you have 3 MP, you don't want to spend 7 turns to reach the mobs and start your fight. And as you can see in the beta, the very first few experiences that people have had with this beta was on the first maps. From this feedback, we have modified about 36 areas where at least 2 to 3 maps were changed, make them bigger, remove obstacles, we've reworked them. And there was also a big modification that was done on the initial placement of fights, because the fact is, because the maps were small and the placements were not perfect, made it so that you felt crammed. Everybody was walking on everybody's toes, so the fights were tricky. The placements had to be completely reworked. Since the start of the fight, all the characters were on each other, and the moment you had an Osa and a Sadi that started summoning, it became unbearable. The map felt cluttered. So we've reviewed this from phase 1. But as you can expect, a lot of people had already stopped playing, and I can only invite you to go back on phase 3 and review the map fights and see everything that we have modified, whether this is good for you or not, because there were loads of changes that have happened, which a lot of you will have missed because you stopped playing by then. And we're looking forward to your feedback to see whether that has changed for the better or not for you. And the next one, we will talk about it later on the phase 3, but there's going to be a big focus and emphasis that will be put on some high level areas in phase 3 to modify them, correct them, change the maps, the starting positions and things like that, whether it be from a legibility standpoint so you can see what's going on in the fight, or the form of the map so you can have a more agreeable time doing fight. And for some boss maps, he's picking a question from chat. Boss maps are meant to be the same exact size from Unity and between Unity and Flash, and there's some particular ones on very low levels like Sponge Mob, which posed problem early on, but now we've made some variants for Dreams so that you don't find yourself on that very same map on a minuscule one. This is good. Ooh. I'm gonna go back on the no animation mode. The no animation mode is not expected. We've done a test internally, which I'd really like to see between now and December. We want to see whether it be the possibility to cancel the frame regardless of what kind of spell you cast. We want you to be able to cast 3-4 spells in 1 second, so you don't have a no animation at all. It's just the competency, the AT. I don't know what APM means. So they will. It's the beginning of a test. I can't guarantee you that it will arrive by December in 2 3 weeks or immediately at the launch, but these are things that we're working on with developers internally to see. We've tested it. It's really cool being able to chain 3-4 spells within 1 second. But also the other problem with no animation, for people who have done the experience before, which was disagreeable, it was a real option in the game that you could toggle, and that gave you the feeling of negative feeling, is that when you if it's been a while and you play the game, you get completely wrecked once you join a group fight because you're slowing everyone down. You get insulted, you're not optimized. Why have you got everything activated? Just lower everything so that we can keep you with us. Creature mode, no animations. Please make the game as ugly as possible or you will not play with us. So I prefer it so that if we don't have no animations as an option, but we have an app that is so responsive, immediately responsive, so fluid, it comes and replaces or overlooks, it enriches your gameplay, it brings out your skills rather than hinders your progression and ability to play with others. Rebek, do you have anything to add? Yes, I'd like to complement what you said. If you find that the class is not fast enough or that it's really complicated, you don't know how you can go from a normal version to a sped up version, please post in the forum and put as many details as possible. Some people have already done that, some spells in particular that were quite long, and that's where we have seen a lot of return and feedback about the Sadi and the Zelor's, one particular spell from the Zelor, Sadi Panda. If you want us to modify things, please don't hesitate to give us feedback about it. And so for the second point, which was the return of the tactical mode, it is not something that is expected. It is not completely not doable. We can, but it's not in our priority. It doesn't fit what we're trying to do as a vision, and also the technical stuff. We're debugging, we're solving problems. We don't want to think about it right now. I will not say never, but even myself, I've played a lot. I've used tactical mode in complex fights, notably in PvP. It increases the visibility and things like that. I don't want to say never, but it's not expected in the program right now to bring it back. We are seeing what we can do in terms of optimizations, enhancements, patchments to make the game more legible, more fluid. But no, tactical mode is not expected at for the time being. And this is why for phase 3 we will have to discuss with the community manager. We will have to add a section on the forum for you to give us feedback about maps, whether it be their form, their size, their legibility, things like that, some effects like lights or whatever. I've seen a post recently that was talking about the contrast between the cells themselves that would help legibility. We'll see where we can better enhance. And also, I completely understand the feeling that it was better on Flash because we had these options that we no longer have now. It feels like a complete loss in comfort and ergonomy. We have to continue to enhance our formula so that this feeling disappears and that we deliver a version of the game even more agreeable than the one you have now in Flash. Tactical mode is a big topic. We are not underestimating it, but I'm certainly confident that we are working on formulas that will make it so that you won't even think or feel that you need it. I'm just picking up. I've written this on the newsletter about the poll. It is not to be of bad faith, but I find it really hard to understand this argument. We've talked about this with Papino. We're both Dofus players. We've never played non-tactical mode. We all play in tactical mode in the current version. But really, when you look at it, it's just a black background with the grid. How can you be less immersive than what we have? Whereas now you have a map in the environment in which it exists. But this is my opinion. Maybe the immersion is not the image that everybody shares. It's not the image that I have in mind. But I find it really difficult to see what is lost as far as immersion in the current semi-tactical mode. Go on, let's move on to the next one. let's go to the phase 3. Like we've announced it a few months ago, the beta was divided in 3 phases. The first one, which was a rush phase. The second one was, I have admitted it in the forum, which was a phase for us to take a break and see that some things will work better later on. Because some servers that are 20 years of age, we want to see that the data, once we port it, will work very well and port well. And it allowed us to reprioritize and visualize what we want to do in the phase 3. And on comes phase 3. It will be a free loot version where you have access to everything. And when we say everything, I mean everything. For those who do not have the habit of doing betas with in big updates, 272, 273. Since 270, maybe 1, something like that, if I'm not saying some nonsense, there has been a modification on the functioning of the beta generally. Now, as it works, you will be able to, if you leave the area, if you just leave the Incarnate Temple, you will find a potion that is on the ground. You click it, it gives you an object, and every time you consume it, it will teleport you to the duty-free area. And this object regenerates the moment you use it, so you will always have it. So you get into this area, this duty-free area, where you can buy absolutely everything. You can level up your professions with runes, you can Transcendence Mage AP, AMP. You can teleport towards all bosses in the game. You can buy all the items in perfect stats. But there were some modifications on this area for the beta that is arriving tomorrow. So we've added some new things. There's another zone where you have access to all the cosmetics in the game. This did not exist in the previous iterations of the free loot beta, but now you can absolutely buy every cosmetic and try them on. There was a cosmetic, there used to be a cosmetic in Temple Race that would sell parts of cosmetics, but now there is one NPC for every slot and you'll be able to buy absolutely every cosmetic and you'll be able to try everything. And there were some modifications about the old NPCs that used to sell some things, but we've changed just the repetition. And there will be 2 servers which we will be able to access. We had planned 3, but I think with 2 it should be more than enough. If there's too many people, we might open another one, a third one. So there won't be a mono account server. There will be 2 multi-account servers on which you will be able to log in, and all the characters that you had in phase 2 will be deleted during tomorrow's update. Once you connect, you will be able to create an account, you will find a potion, and then you can do whatever you want. Gear yourself, do pooch fights, do dungeons, whatever you fancy. And you can test this beta. And a priori, you have absolutely no restrictions, except which is quest fights, of course. You can't just jump to a specific quest fight. And here again, we have to see what we can do to give you access to certain quest fights. We might have the possibility to add bypasses to be able to access certain quest steps, so you can do tactical fights, quest fights. Please do tell us if you want to access this type of fights for all Dofus quest fights or tactical fights. Just don't hesitate to tell us so that we can see what we can do about it. These are things where we have to put in place, because tactical fights, with the changes that we have with the maps and things like that, we have to be very specific and good with it for the end of year release. So phase 1, there was an event that was there to reward the rush, the initial rush of phase 1, and we have suspected that with the rush of with the opening of a new server, there would be a willingness to rush. So the events, they are still yet to confirm. There will be some, but they are still yet to confirm. They might be on the second half of October, end of October to November, but we will see what we add. There's also a second event that will take place during the phase 3 of the beta, because you will have access to all the cosmetics. There will be a skin event with community managers, and here again it is to confirm, because I put it up in red in there. The objectives, details, we will get back to you as soon as possible, as soon as we have more information about the rewards and the event themselves. And when it comes to events like this, it's to sort of put the emphasis on areas. On phase 1, we had the maximum return on how the game behaves, the low-level bosses, legibility, animations, and things like that. But phase 3 will be really, we've done a lot of correctives on classes on this basis right here, and we want to see how the game behaves at endgame now in phase 3. When will we get the next modifications, and what are we getting with these next modifications? For example, this customization, this event of skins will form part of the whole thing. I just saw a question on the Qatar scarf. I just want to quickly mention it. On Dofus Flash, there was one slot for cosmetics that allowed you to put a scarf. So you put shoulder pads, feet stuff, you know, like plastrons. You could put everything in that one unique slot. And the problem was, we have made we've done some objects that would use multiple slots at once, but here in Unity there's a specific slot for everything, which means we had specific cases like Qatar scarf, which would occupy wings slot and also the scarf slot, where we had to manage. So what we had expected to do and what has been done, and we had a problem during the application of it, the putting it in place. When you pick your characters, we had dissociate the objects that were in one part that we wanted to have in two parts, and this is why the Qatar scarf has become a scarf. It has become like an amulet of Qatar, and then there are wings of Qatar that you have to put in place behind it. So we've done a repetition, a separation, and so now one of the objects was picked up. When you double click it, you get one object, but you lose the other one, and that's why the Qatar scarf looked weird. Well, you only have the neck part, but you didn't have the wing part. And so phase 3, if you buy the Qatar scarf with the NPC, you will have now the wings and the amulet part, and you will be able to put both of them in place. And if you just want one, then you can only have one. Right, moving on. Starting from tomorrow, what you will be able to find on the beta phase 3 will be the snapping of the interfaces, so the magnetic snapping. Yeah, so the snapping of interfaces together when they get closer. Now it's much more agreeable, it's better, it's fancier, lots of ergonomic options that are on it. So even at the interfaces level, you'll be able to please yourself more by moving them around and have an easier time with it. And the tooltip, so objects, spells, tooltips that we've shared, a news with screens and things like that. It is spells and equipment. So you will see a for those of you who have played on Flash, you will see that this is closer aligned with what you're used to. So the spell bar, the modification, I don't know what guide is. So the things that we had knowledge of, we've brought modifications to. And notably, we will be able to bring some class mechanics. Some people have mentioned that it's not there. So if you play Shram and you only ever play Shram, if you're against one, and if you're playing with a friend and you want to change class or know more about the class of the other guy, we have brought a new guide that will explain how every class works and things like that. So the spell bar has been reworked at the bottom. This was in the list of priority of the things, the feedbacks that you have given us. It is the bar where you can add shortcuts and you will be able to navigate them much easier from now on. And yeah, so templates. What is templates of interfaces version 1? It's the option that you have all the way up on the right. You'll be able to import, export your organization, your template setting. You'll be able to share that with others and they will be able to implement it. I don't know if I should be saying this or not. In the bug part, people have told us that the interfaces can only be moved outside or inside the fights, which means we wanted to have two dispositions, inside the fight and outside of the fight. And this was brought back to us as feedback of a bug, but it's not a bug. We're just going to rework it in the template bit in order to rework it better and so that it's seamless and that you understand that it is a feature rather than a bug. The last thing is the cosmetics, the arrival of colors, faces. You will have noticed in phase 2 there were some big changes on color slots because some items that were that would where camo would not necessarily take the color of your character. Now you will be able to have fun with it, to have a real reskin like you have had in Flash. So it's finally coming. The faces, we have loads of things that we've reworked, some things that are arriving. I will spoil one, but the ability to put, or not, it's not necessarily from tomorrow by the way, but you will be able to add something later on, which is add a pupil inside the eye of a Sacri or an IOP, or remove them. So there are loads of things. Aha, chat has picked up the IOP's pupil, which was one of the most requested features. So these will be the kind of things that you will be able to play with. So the first delivery tomorrow, there's loads of things that you'll be able to go and test, and I suspect it will give you a feeling different to what you have had to number 2. People are asking about feet. Yes, some feet have grown bigger. Character designs have changed. The team is reworking them, but you will already see that some of them will become larger and less thin. Right. From tomorrow, we have loads of modifications that are arriving. Here, we focused on the client-side modifications. Here, it's uniquely client-side, right? We haven't put everything, right? We haven't put the hundreds of bugs and things like that. There's even more than 150 correctives that we've passed, patches. And here, we've given you the biggest pillars, the things that... the initial things that we thought were the most impactful on this next beta. And bear in mind that between now and December, there's a lot of time for us to change. And we are expecting a patch, a big patch on the 24th of October. Here again, but with a different style of things. Ergonomic changes. We've talked about it a lot. The auto join, auto focus, auto ready for multi-accounting, which make things so much smoother and easier for multi-accounters while awaiting the hero mode. Honestly, it's really, really cool for multi-accounters. We have some screens to show you how it works. Let's go. The exhaustive list, we can talk about it right now. So auto join is if everything will go through the group interface, so you will have to be part of a group of your other characters to be able to access some specific actions. So if you're in a group with someone and you can activate certain options on the other 3 that are not the lead, so you can activate. So if anybody on your group starts a fight in a map, if you have that ticked, you will automatically join. Auto ready, if I am in a fight on the with a member of my team, if one of them presses ready, I automatically go ready. And also auto follow, if you can activate this or deactivate it. If the leader or member of a group moves, changes maps, then you do that as well without having to click or anything. So when you start a new session on multi-account, you will have to group all the you will have to group up with your other characters, and you can then tinker with settings. So auto, what is this feature? The character that will have to play, the client will take the focus from other ones. So you will not need organizer or alt escape or alt tab to change clients, which means the client that will have to play will pop to the fore and you will not have to change screens to be able to see it. We have worked so well on this already. I can't show you everything because we have lots of little technical difficulties we're still smoothing out. These are things that are between the client and the server, but I can already give you a first overview of what auto-follow looks like, autofocus looks like. There are some things really, really cool that I'd like to show you. Go on. I will give some more details before you show us. On autofollow, there are some questions sadly that are difficult to manage. To be able to autofollow someone, you will have to be on the same zone. If you follow someone in Brakmar and you're in Sophokia, it will just ruin, it will make some weird things happen. Here again, if you have to take the zap, you will have to take everyone take the zap because it made for some terrible case scenarios. So Haven bags as well was really difficult to do it with Haven bag. So once you get to the area, as long as you're all on the same area, you will be able to follow. But as soon as you want to go to a different area, you have to go through a zap, sadly, because we don't have any sort of solution at the time to make it happen without weird stuff happening. I forgot what else I wanted to add. And this is also the time in phase 3 where you'll be able to test GPS, which will be accessible, free for everyone. There will be a news that will talk about this shortly. Not even. What? In the news, I will give you another. Oh, I'm gonna spoil you a good news, which won't be. Yeah. The other good news is. Yes. That one, yeah, that one. You will not need to have. Oh, let's go! Let's go! Let's go! GPS is free for everyone. And you don't even need to have a mount or a pet on. You will be able to walk on feet. Because in the past you would have a pet and you would need to change it to a mount or pet mount to be able to use the GPS. But now, GPS on foot, starting from level 10 and have to be subscribed. These are the two conditions that you have to have in order to be able to use it. So, multi-accounting, starting from level 10, you'll be able to have it. It's something that is coming from phase 3 and you'll be able to test it. 24th of October again, you will have access to change of classes, sex, name, to make it easier for you to test more things. And the last thing is the spell UI. Here we can spoil a little bit part of it so you can see it later on. We will show you something cool. We have gone back and reworked a lot of things. We have a video, I think, to show you, but in essence, we wanted it to come tomorrow, but we sadly need to rework some things, so it will come on the 24th of October. Oh, I've just thought of something, the point that I wanted to mention earlier, somebody mentioned it in the chat. On mono account, the multi-account options will be available on mono account. So if you are with someone in a mono account, there are no restrictions on this. You will still be able to use all the multi-accounting options on a mono account server. And also the dialogue options, you will not. Oh, there are too many conditions between accounts, some quests that are different and things like that. So with quest dialogues, you will have to switch accounts in order to activate them, sadly. This is one part where the gameplay will remain exactly as it is right now. It's something that was a bit annoying in the early phase of the beta. There weren't many answers that were shown on NPCs, so you had to scroll when you do an alt tab. So, yeah, so 5... Oh, we've increased the number of options in NPC conversations for you to be able to click the right one much easier instead of having to click more. So, compensations. For people who had GPS potions, they will have compensation now. We will not give you all the details right now. It's part of the news. You'll be able to discover things like that. If you have questions about compensations for those of you who bought it, yes, there will be some compensations that will be part of this. Yes, and also we've reworked compensations as well. And it's not part of the news, but we've reworked them. Nice. We have specified this, but the live would be too much if we start talking about this. But we've specified everything during the news so that you get all the information that you require without us having to keep you here for 3 hours. We've tried to get ahead of everything. For now, the last, but not necessarily the absolute last one during the beta. It's the one that is planned. There could be more, but it's the end of fight stats that will be reworked. And we've noticed there will be a lot of debugging, and it will be a big delivery. And we will polish over the last few weeks. One sec. Of the things that were brought to us as being the most problematic, it was the characteristic UI and the spell and the debug as well. So for those of you who have seen the idle forum post that we've put on Friday, yeah, we're not working this Sunday. For the idols, it's something that will arrive during the beta. The fight idols, for those of you who have seen it, there was a big poll. We've proposed between 3 and 8 for the mask specifically, and we've given you the option to tell us which one do you like, which one do you prefer. Yeah, honestly, we wanted to deliver much earlier, but we thought it would be much longer to integrate. She's still asleep. And we want to include it in phase 3 of the beta, and so it will be anywhere between the 24th of October here. We will present things like that in about 10 minutes. maybe 20 minutes at this pace. So the idols is something that is coming during the beta. It's important for us. We will see if we deliver them all at once, if we deliver them in batches. There are some questions internally that we still need to work. There's a question, why not make them interchangeable inside the fight? Here we have not produced 3. Here we have 3 times just the front face of one. So we have to take one and rework it on all views because we haven't produced them. That's the answer. That's why we can't give you the options right now. When it comes to the immersion side, over the long term, you will have options of multiple ones, but now we want to deliver one for every single class that is complete. Okay, it's good presenting all of this, but it's example time. Let's go. All right, disclaimer, the video that you're about to see right now will present the spells and things like that, but there are still some bugs. The global logic is for you to see. So it's a developer 2 hours ago that has recorded this video in the middle of right. So this is to present to you the rework of the spells. You have known this one, so you have multiple views to pick the one that you like. We've gone back on a classical formula that is closer to the one that you have right now in Flash. The disposition, the visibility, it allows us to show you this as early as possible, and so we can get your feedback to see whether we're going in the right direction or not. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, here we had a third new. So we've removed the block of spells, so you can see the picto at the forefront, and we've added a new view, so you can see there are 3 here as opposed to the old 2. So we've added the filters, so you can find specific spells, elements, and things like that. And the disposition number 2 and number 3, which were novelties in Unity. We have used the separation again of right and left rather than up and down, just to be coherent. What you can see here in the video, there's a left and a right variant, of course, as you can see. We wanted to keep this option. For those of you who wanted to see your spells all at once, it is very interesting for you to be able to have it like this. UX level, just from the chat, I already see that it pleases you. Thank you. But you can see already at the legibility, usability, everything right now so far, it's an instant enhancement of what you've already had. And it's the 24th of October that you will have this to test on the beta phase 3. And you'll be able to see how it's like, test it yourself, and see how it handles your use. Second use that we've talked about here, for those of you who observe, you will see that there are some extra lines, new options added here, just to highlight them so you can see them better. Here essentially you will have 3 new ones. So UI is a dev sentence. Essentially it's auto follow, auto join, and you will be able to click them automatically and activate them. So another new animation that you can see here with the little boots that you can see right next to the character to signify that he is auto following the group's leader. This makes it, the gameplay, multi-accounter makes it so much easier. You only have to look, no need to click. And right now we're presenting you things like that, but we don't know how it's going to evolve in terms of usability and things like that in the future. But right now, these are the options we're going to work on. You'll be able to see them from the 24th. They will change over time, but this is the formula that we're working on internally. And you will have a picto for auto follow. You will have another one for auto join, auto this, auto that. They will all have a little visual indicator. At the level of the idols, for those of you who haven't seen the news, this is the formula that we have. It's an animation system. We have seen the diagram of how the system works right now in Unity. Right. The idea at the level of the idols is to review what we call RP, roleplay. When characters outside of the fight and inside the fight to move between the generic to a specific one dedicated to the class between two turns. So you can see at the start of its turn, it has its own idol with the bow and the class idol, and then it moves to the animation, and then the communal one. The communal idol, if you play fast, you will not see these at all. But I agree, the communal idol is not something that we like in the game. It's not something that is pleasant. We need to idol. As we've said, the Kra idol, if we show you the Kra, if it doesn't go from the communal one but starts with the one from the class, means it won't be used on a monster or something like that. But here, the fact of having this here makes us it makes it easier for us to sort of use them on all characters. We have to rework them. We need to find this communal. This is a problem that we have. I would really love to address it and solve for it in the next weeks and months, because it would generally enhance the game comfort and enjoyment. Maybe we're seeing from the chat feedback, it's not the movement from this to this that is problem, it's the existence of this. Why do we have to have a communal idol like this to begin with? It's something that we can do without. We can go back and polish it. We have this one, this boxing stance that nobody seems to like, not even us internally. We want to go towards something more interesting, and it's feasible. But in any case, I think over the long term, the good thing is to have something class specific. So we're not talking about the same production time, problem solving time. Here again, we don't want to give you false promises that we won't be able to meet. The communal idol is something that we want to enhance now and then change later. Before you go to the next thing, we have to analyze. We have analyzed the result of the poll. Here, there are some classes that have clearly defined votes. I highly suspect that there might be any change of opinion over the long time. There are a couple that were really tight. We did not really know which one to go. Like the Hopper Mage. The 4 of them were about 25% each on every animation. And there are a lot of you that have brought back that some animations are completely... He went silent for a few seconds. The Forge Lance, the Sadi, and the Uginak, where we have to rework, because while we have a winner, there's no unanimity, and we've got extra feedback to say that they were poor and lacking. For the Uginak, for example, we've talked about it no longer than just an hour and a half ago. It's really hard to find a strong idol for it, unlike the Iop, who has a sword. The Forge Lance as well, you have to find an unarmed idol, so it's quite tricky. The Aliotrop as well, we've reworked. The modifications will be less big, but there is need for them. And the Sadi as well needs a complete rework for the idols. Here again, even though some idols were also very... there was overwhelming... the Eke Flip one in the middle with all cards around it was the most chosen one, overwhelmingly chosen, but we're still going to rework those. Despite them being number 1, we're going to minimize the excesses that they have and things like that. And some idols as well, we're going to minimize the movements of them and things like that, because they were too distracting or overwhelming in the middle of a fight. Right, there are 9 that we validated internally that were good. You said they were good, that we were satisfied with, and there were 10 that we will need to rework, like the Mask, the Enutroph. I don't have the list in front of me, but yes, there are more than the half, because we have 10-9 distribution that we will have to rework because nobody's satisfied, not you and us, and that's it. Which is quite, it's alright. And now, to finish up the idols, for those of you who haven't seen them concretely, this is what it looked like. The idols, what we called RP roleplay, are these ones that you have here on the left. We want to have loads of different ones, not necessarily by class, but at least 4 or 5 generic ones on all classes that allows you to recognize them very easily. And on the right you have were highly voted in the community. As I said, there were 9 that were validated, and 10 that we need to rework to enhance them, better them, and find the best formula for each one of them. That's it. And so, there are still some modifications to bring about. We're getting close to the end, don't worry. We've talked a lot about the modifications, technical ones, features, mechanical ones, gameplay ones, but we haven't talked about the classes, the characters, classes. So, when it comes to class, all of these classes right here that have already been modified, you have seen change logs that we've published already that will arrive during the beta, and we'll show you the modifications that have been brought. So Fogonaut, Forge Lance, Mask, Rogue, Iop, Annie, Sadi, Uginak, not Original, and Osa, who have already received their modifications. We've talked about this with Papino earlier. The Uginak has been reworked. A lot of people were pleased with the changes on paper. There's still some more to change, but there was a big change. Debug and balancing. So towards the end of the year with the release, there will be an enormous change log with practically changes on every class. There won't be a single one that won't change, but some will be bigger, some will be smaller, some will take massive nerfs, some will take big ups, just to try and find a good balance. Some have already been passed, as we said, some are still coming, like the Kra Enu Sakri Panda, we are coming tomorrow, expect those, and the next batch will be the 15th. Hopper May, Shram, Feka, Elio, and the last batch will be the 24th of October, and it will be the Eka Flip and Zelo, the last ones, because there were some modifications of spell repetitions. There won't be a complete revamp of the class itself. There will just be a change of variants, repetitions of spell, so there really changes for the Zelo in particular. A lot to give it more sense towards its gameplay. Not everything is completely thought out. We're still working on the formula, but the rework on the entirety of classes will please us so much, and it's much awaited. For those of you who have seen the changes on the beta, they were very much well received. They were quite good. So for the phase 3, go and see the different classes that we've mentioned here nearly every week. So at the release, you will be able to see these, and every week you will see the batch. Go see the changes, the important states and things like that we've changed. I just want to do a little bit of an addendum. We have not expected to talk about artistic direction in this live. We will not talk about it. In future lives, we will take this topic and do a focus on it. We will talk about this. Here, we focused more on the poll topics and things to expect for this next update, beta phase 3. And the last bit, on the 7th of November, it's a date that we've put on the previous slide. It is the biggest modifications that are coming towards the end of the year, which is shield rework, item balancing, change of recipe. Loads of things are coming on these 3 here. Look forward to that. We're so much excited for it. We've put modifications of recipe, but what you have to know is resources droppable on monsters, plus resources from achievements that were not balanced. We are reworking 4 blobs around the world, the dungeon around the world. We are working a lot of things as part of what we call the recipe changes. We're changing this so that when the December launch is there, the feelings that we've had that were negative to do with certain aspects of the gameplay are not going to be there. The fact of doing the blob dungeon 4 times to be able to progress in that quest, we don't want any more of that. Some recipes, we want it so that, to say it in a simple terms, the Abracanids, they had a bigger average required from them in recipes than every other sort of family. So a lot of things have been reviewed, and they will please you so much with the December release, and these are things that you'll be able to see in the game as soon as November, and there will be some things that happen in the days between this and the launch. It's true that we've talked about it. We haven't mentioned the modifications of around the world in 27 dungeons. On this one right here, on the shield rework, there will be I don't know exactly whether we're gonna go on one live or maybe a change log. I don't know that having a live where we talk about all the shields will be fun, but we will see. We will tell you what will happen to the shields and things like that. And there will be another big changelog for all 3 of these, plus everything that has happened before, plus all the classes. For those of you who like reading, December is the month for you. Yeah, so I'm gonna admit, it has been fun from a game design perspective, but I think these changes will please all of you and bring about the biggest change. I'm thinking, last slide, Q&A. We haven't gone into the detail of everything like the shield. The goal of the live is to mention all the changes and when to expect them. It is not to get into the details of every single change. We haven't finished integrating stuff. We haven't finished adjusting stuff. So it is very likely to be for very soon. When it comes to the date, I'm not going to give you the date during a Q&A. I'm not going to tell you when Unity is happening during a bog standard Q&A, right? When we communicate the date to you, it's happening. It's coming. It's coming very soon. And I know that a lot of you are asking questions for the holidays, and it's not a period that is evident and stuff like that. We understand, we know exactly, we've been players as well. But we want to say that the recent experiences that we've had is that we need to be intentioned about this and communicate this. It's something that we will tell you in the next few weeks. Don't worry about it. I've noted a few topics here during the live. Some things that we could mention right now and go back on. We haven't noted it on the slides, but it was the question of the HD pack. Oh, hell. What the hell? Right, straight to the business. We have a first HD map on our local computers. So the HD pack is a crazy kind of product. It's massive. It is something that we want to deliver. It's something that we want to bring in the end of the year. We want you to have a quality game. It is something that we're aiming to give you towards the end of the year. But oh my god, how much stuff we've discovered about how things were done in the past. It was infernal. It was hell. I don't know if we've shared. I don't know if we shared with you. We talked about it during the live. The visual, which was a screenshot with the Windows bar in one of the maps. You can see him working on a project of 20 years is hilarious. But what sorts of shortcuts we found in production. I understand why they've done it. I understand the conditions and what's but it brings to the fore all the crazy stuff that has happened. We lack a lot of source for thousands of pictos to upscale them. There were some moments where we started doing tests with the artificial intelligence to upscale, but we found that it made loads of mistakes and low quality, so we had to rework. But I think I've explained this before in a previous live. But generally speaking, production pipeline, there were like 3 or 4 file type so that you'll be able to use between teams. I will spare you the need to talk about technical stuff, but the HD pack is absolute hell on earth, but it's necessary, and this is why we're bringing it. So what is it called? The Lord Crow is in low quality, if you haven't noticed, if you zoom into it, because we've lost the source image for that one boss in particular. So the HD pack is something we're working on. We want to bring it towards the end of the year. The only thing, however, is it's a reality for multi-accounters. If you have between 4 and 8 clients that are open at once and that have the HD pack, necessarily your clients will be heavier. Yeah, this is something that you need to take into account. Necessarily, offloading assets means that your clients will be too consuming in terms of RAM and things like that. It will change your experience. It will please a lot of people, but you should keep this in mind for multi-accounters. We will still keep the option of you having the game as it is right now, and the ability to use the HD pack so that you can profit from the game, enjoy the beauty of it. But if you don't want to play it, you don't have to. But if you do want to, you have the option of. The other question that I've seen move is the end of game stats that we've modified for the 7th of November. For now, we have nothing to show you. We've started to work on the topic, but we've got nothing to show you for now. But the goal right now is that it's more exhaustive than it is now, and a bit more interesting. At the level of the recipes for the keys, no, there has been no modifications at all. When it comes to the Zelor, I've seen the question fly. Is it just the change of when you get the spells and things like that, or the gravity state, or the scope of the modifications on the Zelor is not yet finished or finalized, so we're still thinking and working. Where do we stop? We're not in a completely revamp of the gameplay, but yes, we are starting to explore the possibility of adding either new states or different legends on the spell description to make it more fluid and playable. I want to address a topic that is not easy, but I've seen the question pass, which is bots. There are some modifications that are coming on Unity so that we're able to better fight bots that is arriving in the next few weeks. So just to give us more tools and weapons to fight them. But when it comes to the part, when it comes to report rapidly, we have had some reports. Yeah, we're not gonna hide. We had loads of reports. We had loads of them. The reports were globally of high quality. Thank you all for those who took the time to report people and things like that. We have some problems with the launch, some characters that were disconnected or stuff like that. But it allowed us to ban loads of people. There are some reports that were more easier than others to handle. Some take more time, some are faster. But thank you generally. Thank you for the moderators that have taken the time to work on all the reports that you guys have done. Colosseum bots. Yeah, it's something that we've discussed with the data team very, very recently. I want to do a big revamp, automate the banning of all of these. It's not something that we've had time to address for now. Yes, I do want to work on it. I can't give you an exact date, sadly, of when we're going to do it. But yeah. The breeding system. That also is something that I've talked about. And the chief of the project and the game designers and developers is something that we want to do next year. But because, you know, it's really complex as a system to touch, because breeding is something that is incredibly unique in the game because it is a big part of the economy. I'd really love to redo breeding and do better things with it. It's not evident, but even before then, there is a really big problematic towards the end of the year, which is think about the accessibility of paddocks for the end of the year. The fact that right now, as it stands, having a paddock means rushing as quickly as possible to the at the expense of stuff and do guilds. It's too toxic right now in the game. So for now, we're focusing on how do we manage paddocks, what solutions, what accessibility for the end of the year. So, and then when it comes to the revamp, we want it to be it's going to be a much bigger topic, which requires more thought and time. There will necessarily be a specific live to talk about the new servers. Yeah, clearly, the release of new servers, we're going to bring up all these topics, all these questions, the animations, achievements that we will bring for the new server, like the guild stuff that we've mentioned. There will be a dedicated live for this stuff. Do we have any novelty, any new about the prices subscription? Nope, it's not something that we've evoked internally. I've said it before, I will say it again. It is not... It's the principal point in this reflection is that if there is a change in the subscription price, and it will, if there is one, it will be minimal, and we will guarantee at least a year for people who are currently subscribed. The price, we will lock it for people. So if you hear the news and things like that, just, yeah, no, don't be surprised. Hero mode on Dofus, no. Right now, we're more working towards ergonomic options betterment instead of proposing a proper hero mode that solves all those problems. But as we've mentioned earlier, there will be some things coming. We've got loads of reflections on this, but principally, it influences the basic gameplay. The hero mode, is it the best way for you to play? We will see. Game design or game development side, we're thinking a lot about it, but right now we're still working on the better ergonomical options during the beta and the release, rather than stop everything and just give you a hero mode. So no. So, and heroic mode there, it was just a mistake that I made. No, there's no heroic mode in our server. I see the question pass by a lot. The ad system to find groups and things like that. It's one of the prioritized topics that sadly have been relegated a bit, and we've preferred to give the emphasis on the interfaces, spell stats, end of fight stats, rather than adding new stuff altogether. But it's still expected. It's still something we're working on. At the level of Pebbles on new servers, yes. Yeah, we've had a meeting that we will not be able to do. But we've done an exchange of experience with Dofus Touch team. Because globally we have the same system in place at that level. But yeah, when it comes to Pebbles, we have done a small exercise of style in last March. See what we apply from that experience towards the end of the year, so that is the most fluid to everyone. So it's not so that the release is not confined by people having to do PvP and things like that. I want to talk quickly about the artistic direction, while despite the fact that we'll talk about it in a dedicated live. I think it was shortly before the beta, beginning of August, where there were different variants on classes. With alternative forms, varying differential. These modifications will not be coming to the game starting tomorrow. It's the modifications of colors, face, and that's what we've presented during this live. Is this is what we can do, but nothing has been already produced, so it's not what to expect tomorrow. It's not the exact changes that are coming tomorrow. They're coming soon in the future. When it comes to artistic direction, design, character, items, you can't follow all the announcements that we make on the forum and things like that. But yes, there have been many items that we've reworked that are present in the beta, that are there in phase 3. There was maybe 15 classes, I would like to say, at a minimum, that were reviewed and enhanced, bettered. This is something for you to see during phase 3. We will continue to work on them and enhance them, better them, to reach the quality that you guys expect. But there has been already many modifications that were done, and if you're not happy with go check the beta to see what has been done, because right now we've done multitude of changes that you will be able to see on the beta. Classes, bugs, things like that. To follow everything is really hard. Really, all I can say is please come back on phase 3, play, give us your feedback, take your screenshots, let us hear it. We take more time exchanging on the forum, myself and Riebeck. We take more time looking at the forum, answering. We can't answer as much as we'd like. I'd love to answer, but it's physically not possible. I do it when there's really important topic or ones that got too much attention. But don't hesitate to come and keep an eye on the forum, on the beta, to see what a month and a half of changes, what has been happening. Come and discover it on the beta and see whether you like it or not. Couple of more questions. Christmas Island, it will be activated on the release of the Unity, with the Unity release beta, the Unity release on the new servers. And I'm already seeing questions about the beta tokens. Nope. We've put on the slide to confirm if there is the events that will arrive. It was the tokens were not in red, but it won't be from the start of the phase 3, but it will be towards the end of October. Is there an expansion on Christmas? But we've already added some things. It was a year and a half. It became a lot more interesting, so we've added the pets mounts, the call of fans. During that update, we've added some cool new things. It's not excluded that we might add stuff, but it's not really guaranteed. It's not our highest priority right now to redo Christmas Island with everything we've got on the pipeline. And tomorrow it will be activated. Volcania, Christmas, all the seasonal islands will be activated in the beta tomorrow, so you'll be able to go and test them as well and see how you like them. Is there a specific subscription for multi-accounters? We're thinking about it, but I can't guarantee it. Technically speaking, it might be a big topic to try and push. I don't like to say never, but it is not something that is in our reflections currently. It's not a priority at all. The date for... Oh, do we have a date? This is exciting. The date for when we can port the gifts to the new servers. The cutoff date and when we get the gifts. Not yet. They will announce it, but no. Oh, the 20-year tournament has not been cancelled. The 20-year tournament. It continues. The game developers are working on it. because there's loads of things that we want to propose for that event. So the PVM tournament. Demo, we have demonstration. Why are we taking the questions without show? Come on, let's have a look. He continues. Rebek will continue the answer while Papino finds the... So the 20-year tournament will arrive on the beta servers of Unity. You'll have access to all the information, of course. I think it's in a specific news on the topic. You will be able to see what you will need to do and how to do it. Any news about this event? Hats? Soon. Soon as well. Soon. News. There's gonna be loads of news coming. Get ready for a barrage of news and changes. This event also will arrive soon. We will announce it as well on future, just like the cutoff date. But yeah, it's coming in a few days. Yeah, keep an eye on it. On the new server back. What? We'll talk about this topic soon when we talk about new servers. Oh, it will be a different... I don't know what back is. We need to stop this very shortly. We're finding lots of technical difficulty to my left. Papino's asking Rebek to pick questions while he's finding the the demonstrations for what the 20-year event will look like. Yes, the phase 3 is tomorrow. The shields, what will they look like? The shields... Oh, excuse me. The shields will be communicated to you very shortly. It's arriving on the 7th of November so that you'll be able to test it. And this is why we want you to do an event in phase 3 on top of letting you test, just to sort of incentivize you, create a package and an incentive for you to come and test the shields, big maps, big fights with big mobs and things like that. Yeah. So now we can go to my screen and I will show you the demonstration. Right, disclaimer. First disclaimer. This is just internally. We were not expecting to show you this. I've asked the devs if it's okay to show. They said, at your own risk and peril. Let's see how it handles it. Right. This is my group leader, which is my Sacria, right? And as we've said, there's always bugs when you do live demonstrations, right? Any moment you could blow up and, and kill the whole thing. Right, we'll see. As we've said, you will have these new options at the bottom. Yeah, at the tooltip. And what happens is, so if I click auto follow, let's do it on all of them, right? It means, oh, so that the 3 of them move at the same time, whether it's 25, 8, it does not matter. All of them will just follow the leader wherever they go. It's simple but effective. I'm not changing the maps now because it's heavily bugged. There's only one of the 2 that will follow me if I change maps. But yeah. But we've said on multi-accounting, it's an extra option. It's a little modification that we haven't told you, but it will please some of you. So on the picto of the game Unity itself, you can show the normal picto, the logo, or you can show... No! You can... What? You can put your class logo or image at the bottom of the picto at the bottom so you can see which one and click it directly. I don't know if I should show you this or not. It's best not to show. It's best not to start the fight. So the autofocus is incredible, but it's full bugged. Should I show you it? But don't judge the bugs and everything. But let me... Hold on. Let's try it. Let me show you the autofocus. The server is not ready for all this. It's going to crash. This is just an internal server. Have we had a video to show that it works? As you can see, right, I'm playing on the Hopper Mage. I'm not going to move it because that might cause problem. Let's say I pass my turn. I'm already playing the Sakri. How did that happen? What? What? That's so cool. That is so cool. Oh, let's go. It's so fluid. It does not interrupt your gameplay. We have some problems on Mac. We have some issues that we need to solve. We're cheating a little bit here for Windows. just to do it properly on Windows, but honestly, it's ultra fluid. It's incredibly, as you can see, I'm playing one-handed. We had a script where you had to put your hand to show the other one while playing with just the one. Extra cinema, but we've opted not to do that. But in essence, just to remind you, this is not happening tomorrow. This is the 24th. It's the 24th that this is arriving. You've seen some things. The IOP crash. There's some things that we need to debug and stuff. But yeah, generally, these are options that will be accessible for you the moment your character is level 10 and subscribed. On Linux, we're still working on it. But the problem generally is there's not too many people of you in Linux. And every time it's so complicated to reach us. So it's not evident to prioritize that. Yeah, we have to see for Linux. Windows, it has been relatively easy. And I put this in between brackets because we had to go around so many problems. Macs, in terms of security, they don't really like us to play with settings like that to allow us to have this fluid, but just to have the movement like this, everyone auto, it's so cool. It's just so cool. GPS, as we've said, I will repeat myself, even though I've said this before, the GPS on mounts will be free for everyone at the release of Unity. You'll be able to test it in phase 3, but it will be available. I don't want to test it. He's asking him, can you test it? It's like, no, I don't want to test it. It's going to crash. I don't want it to crash. So GPS, automated movement, will be available starting from level 10. As long as you're subscribed from level 10, you will have the ability to play that on foot. On foot. So this gives you an initial general overview of what some of the little ergonomic changes we've added give. Autofocus, I honestly can't wait for you to test it. It's going to be incredibly cool. That's it. Should we do one last question each? Will GPS be available on restricted areas? Oh, this type of last questions, Rebecca. I've picked it before you said last question, okay? It's complicated. It's a spiky question. I'm not against it, but there are some areas where the system is not really designed for you. If you put, yeah, there are some areas that are not friendly towards that. Like think about the Wabbit Island with the underground. There are some areas that are just, yeah, the Wabbit Island. It's gonna have to stay like this. We are open to change it on other areas, but the Wabbit Island. The forest, you know, the Helmina area, we've reworked. We might add it there so that it's no longer a maze-like, but we'll see. I announce it. Last question each, and then we can let the IT go home. Because you have multiple maps on top of each other, Jay. This is not a question. This is, will you be able to go to the skunk dungeon with a GPS? Honestly, all these years of you having to move and knowing the pathway, all the real ones know how to go there with closed eyes because you've done it so many times and you farmed so many calyptus for 100th time to get the perf stat, so you know it already. So, but yeah, essentially, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's a competence question now. He's being all cheeky. He's adorable. Oh shit. I'm seeing that there's a raging debate instead of people asking this question in chat. Right. I'm not going to take question about interfaces or cosmetics because we've talked about it. Guild rework. Yes, it's something that we wanted to do for December. We've pushed it to next year, sadly, because there's just too many things to do with the release of the end of the year. So, yeah, it is lacking interest in the bigger scheme, in the bigger picture. It's not a priority, really. It's not even a rework. Just adding new things to the guilds because now they don't have any utility, really, aside from... Yeah, so it's going to be for the next year. Don't expect anything for December. And from your side, Rebecca, what's the question? I'm looking at chat. I'm looking at the question. It's not evident. I could take ones that we've already answered, but I'm trying to find one that hasn't yet been. I'll take one last on shields because I feel like this topic keeps coming back. We will talk about it later, but just for you to know right now, there is a possibility of migration. So the functioning, the same one as the legendary weapons that we've done in last June. Yeah, last June. It's like what we've done on legendary items. We don't want to announce exactly what stats will become what, so there's no speculation, no maging, so that you get stats that are not more interesting than others that we can't get and replicate after the revamp. So we won't communicate information, but it will arrive. We'll communicate it right before or during the update. Yeah, I understand. Thank you all for this live. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Papino. Thank you too. I was expecting it to last longer than 2 hours, but we've even managed to talk about other things. Yeah. We've managed it well. Right. I have to say here, change in maps. You will have new shortcuts to change maps quickly, which will be good. Here, on the 7th, it was a week. The gifts for the 20-year, every day you've liked them. I've seen some people who missed the I was there Dofus. For info, I have hidden it, but for the live, the presentation live I've done at the time, there was we've spoiled it, but it was really hard to find. But next time I will do another slide that will make it more prominent and visible. But having said that, for September there were no fireworks in the calendar of the gifts, you know, the daily gifts. We didn't put any fireworks as silly gifts. It's really hard to find rewards for a calendar of this size. We've put some transformation, which weren't the rewards that you were expecting to see more. But you've avoided the fireworks, and you look at the bright side, you didn't have any. Right. No. Cool. Thank you all for watching. Yeah, thank you all for this live. Thank you, Papino. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate it. And yeah, I shall see you around.